Have you ever heard of the person who invented chemistry? No, I'm not talking about Lavoisier Boyle or Dalton. I'm talking about a man who lived 1,000 years before them. A man whose work laid the very foundation of the science we know today. His name was Jābir ibn Ḥayyān, and his story is one of the most incredible, yet often overlooked, chapters in the history of science. Imagine a world steeped in mysticism and alchemy, where the goal wasn't to understand matter, but to transform it into gold. This was the world of the 8th century. But in the bustling city of Kufa in modern-day Iraq, one man saw things differently. Jābir wasn't just another alchemist chasing a magical dream. He was a systematic experimenter, a meticulous observer, and a brilliant thinker. He believed that the secrets of the universe weren't hidden in spells or incantations, but could be unlocked through careful, repeatable experiments. This revolutionary idea was the spark that would eventually ignite the flame of modern chemistry. For centuries, his name in the West was Geber, for over 500 years. European scholars considered Geber the undisputed master of chemistry. His books were the standard textbooks, his methods the gold standard. But here's the twist. Many of these scholars had no idea that the brilliant mind they revered was not one of their own, but a polymath from the Islamic Golden Age. Jābir ibn Ḥayyān was the real genius behind the name, and his influence was so profound it's almost impossible to overstate. So, what exactly did he do? Let's start with the basics, things we take for granted in any high school chemistry lab. Ever used nitric acid, sulfuric acid, hydrochloric acid? These powerful substances, capable of dissolving metals, were all first isolated and described by Jābir. He didn't stumble upon them by accident. He developed the process of distillation to a level of sophistication previously unknown. He invented the alembic still, a piece of equipment so perfectly designed that its basic form is still recognizable in labs today. Through distillation, he could separate liquids and purify substances, a cornerstone of chemical practice. But his genius didn't stop there. He was the first to describe crucial chemical processes that are still fundamental to the field. Crystallization, the process of forming solid crystals from a solution. Calcination, heating solids to high temperatures. Sublimation, turning a solid directly into a gas. Jābir wasn't just mixing potions. He was defining the very language and operations of a new science. He introduced the importance of precise measurement and the quest for purity, concepts that separated his work from the vague recipes of earlier alchemists. He famously said, "The first essential in chemistry is that you should perform practical work and conduct experiments. For he who performs not practical work, nor makes experiments, will never attain to the least degree of mastery." This was his mantra. He wasn't interested in philosophical speculation alone. He demanded empirical evidence. He wanted to see, touch, and measure the results. This insistence on experimentation is what truly marks him as the father of chemistry. He was turning a mystical art into a quantifiable, empirical science. His impact stretched far beyond the laboratory. Think about the world around you. The vibrant colors in textiles. Jābir developed new methods for dyeing fabrics and waterproofing them. The perfume you might be wearing perfected techniques for extracting essential oils from flowers and plants, revolutionizing the perfume industry. He contributed to the making of steel, the tanning of leather, and even the formulation of inks and glues. His work was practical, it was useful, and it improved the lives of people in countless ways. He also laid the groundwork for the pharmaceutical industry. By isolating and purifying substances, he opened the door to creating more effective medicines. His understanding of chemical properties allowed for the development of new remedies and treatments, influencing the course of medicine for centuries. This wasn't just about turning lead into gold anymore. It was about understanding the very building blocks of the world to heal, create, and innovate. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. If he was so influential, why isn't he a household name like Newton or Einstein? The answer is complex. For centuries, his work was known in Europe only through Latin translations, often anonymous or attributed simply to Geber. As Europe entered its own scientific revolution, many of the discoveries detailed in his books were rediscovered by European scientists, who were then credited with the original findings. The true identity and immense contribution of the Arab scholar behind the name were largely lost to popular history. It's a classic case of historical credit being misplaced. The narrative of scientific progress has often been Eurocentric, overlooking the foundational contributions from other cultures, particularly from the Islamic Golden Age. But the evidence is undeniable. The writings of Geber, which so heavily influenced European alchemists and early chemists like Robert Boyle, are direct descendants of Jābir ibn Ḥayyān's original Arabic texts. He was the source, the fountainhead, from which much of later chemistry flowed. His theoretical ideas were just as radical as his practical work. Jābir proposed that all metals were formed from two basic principles, sulfur and mercury. Now, he didn't mean the common yellow element and the liquid metal we know today. For him, these were philosophical principles, sulfur representing the principle of combustibility, and mercury representing the principle of fusibility and metallic properties. He believed that by altering the balance of these two principles within a metal, you could transform it into another. While this theory was eventually superseded, it was a crucial step forward. It was one of the first theories of matter that was based on composition, not magic. It encouraged experimentation to test the theory, a hallmark of the scientific method. Furthermore, he introduced an early form of the law of constant proportions. He understood that when chemicals combine, they do so in definite, repeatable weights. This was a monumental leap in thinking. It suggested that the chaotic world of matter was governed by hidden rules and predictable ratios. It was a concept that wouldn't be fully formalized for another 1,000 years, but the seeds were planted in Jābir's lab in 8th century Kuwait. He was also a master of classification. He attempted to categorize substances based on their properties, dividing minerals into spirits, metals, and other substances. This drive to organize and classify the natural world is a fundamental scientific impulse. It's how we make sense of complexity, how we build frameworks of understanding. Jābir was building the very first scaffold for the grand structure of chemistry. So, when we look back, we see a figure who stands at a pivotal crossroads in history. He took the mystical, secretive art of alchemy and, through his insistence on experimentation, measurement, and systematic procedure, transformed it into the beginnings of a rational, empirical science. He was a man who invented a science before the concept of science as we know it even existed. His legacy is written in the very language of chemistry, in the equipment we use, and in the processes we rely on every single day. The story of Jābir ibn Ḥayyān is a powerful reminder that genius knows no single culture or era, less a testament to the brilliant minds of the Islamic Golden Age who preserved ancient knowledge and forged new paths of discovery while Europe was in the Dark Ages. By remembering Jābir, we're not just correcting the historical record, we're gaining a richer, more accurate understanding of how science truly progresses as a global human endeavor built on the work of giants from all corners of the world. Next time you see a chemical formula or witness a reaction in a lab, take a moment to remember the man who started it all. It's not with a magic wand, but with a balance and an insatiably curious mind. The true father of chemistry, Jābir ibn Ḥayyān. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past as fascinating as I did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more hidden stories from the history of science. See you next time.